Assume everything else I've said is correct because you can buy it, it's correct. And now skip that part and say, okay, she's wrong about that. Everything I've said is the same in terms of what it means for you. It means taking control of your health, taking control of your food, not buying genetically modified food. Oh, by the way, how would you know? Well, if it comes in a plastic wrapper or it's been processed, it's genetically modified. If it has high fructose corn syrup, if it has modified food starch, if it has any of the things that are made from corn, and that's a huge number of elements of our food, including so-called natural flavors. It comes from genetically modified plants. If you're eating anything with soy that doesn't say organic, it is genetically modified. If you're eating anything with canola oil that doesn't say organic, it is genetically modified. Genetically modified foods are known to cause problems in organs, autoimmune problems, infertility, and cancer. I wouldn't want to eat them.
You know, I shop at Whole Foods, and I also shop at Trader Joe's here in Los Angeles. And when I go into Trader Joe's, I'm often worried and find myself looking at the fruit and vegetable section because I really don't know, even though it says organic and some of them don't say organic, is it GMO?
Well, you can tell with the fruits and vegetables very, very easily, Kim. There are little oval stickers, the PUL labels. Now, if an oval sticker has a code on it that begins with the number 4, it is conventionally grown. It's got pesticides and herbicides and fungicides, and it's probably been irradiated. If it starts with the number 8, it is genetically modified, like papayas and mangoes and God knows how many fruits and vegetables have been genetically modified. If it has a number 9, it is organic. It's certified organic. Now, organic is a declining standard, but it's a whole lot better than 4, and it's infinitely better than 8. The problem is when you're not dealing with fruits and vegetables, and you don't have a little oval sticker. In 1992, the scientifically illiterate then President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, Sr., the senior Bush president, declared that genetically modified foods are to be considered substantially equivalent to non-genetically modified foods, which of course makes no sense. If you can patent it, it's not substantially equivalent to unpatentable foods, and that it was not to be permitted to allow GMO foods to be labeled.
What?
You got it.
Right. It's illegal to tell the truth.
And
are you telling me you can't label GMO foods anywhere?
Well, it violates U.S. case law. It violates U.S. case law, but it is the position the FDA has taken.
In fact, we were at a codex meeting on this very topic in Oslo. General Stubblebine and I were there, as a matter of fact, on his birthday, February 6th. And we were stunned, as was the rest of the world. Most of the world requires labeling of GMO, by the way. We were stunned to hear the United States finally admit why they feel that GMO should never be labeled. And Barbara Schneemann, who is the head of the Dietary Supplements Division of the FDA and a very frequent codex delegate for the U.S., said, well, U.S. consumers overwhelmingly reject GMO food, but administratively, GMO foods are identical to non-GMO foods, and therefore, in order to prevent the consumer from making the mistake of rejecting something that is administratively identical, the FDA prohibits the identification of GMO food.
That's absolutely criminal.
The room
it was worse than that. The room went silent.
Nobody could speak. I mean, people were sitting there around this huge table with their mouths agape.
It was dumbfounded. And finally, the delegate from the EU said, "That's weird."
That's the closest the EU ever came to objecting to any part of the globalist agenda.
It's monstrous, actually. It's literally Frankenstein.
It also violates U.S. case law, and it violates the U.S. Constitution. Other than that, there's no problemo.
Well, there's obviously something that Monsanto wants, because to patent the molecular structure of seeds and take over and license seeds all over the world, there is an agenda.
And animals. It's not just seeds. Monsanto said 20 years ago that they would own the world's food supply by 2010.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, indeed. Now, Monsanto has just been named Company of the Year by Forbes, the capitalist tool. And I wrote to them, as a matter of fact, I wrote a letter in which I said that they were not the capitalist tool, they were the globalist's fool.
Right. What they did was, in addition to naming Monsanto, they actually came out in an article, which is what Dr. Laibow was responding to, where they basically accused people who don't want to accept forced vaccination of being vaccine deniers.
Oh, vaccine deniers. And they said that we were endangering everybody else. And, of course, this makes no sense. There's no such thing as herd immunity. And, oh, by the way, I want your listeners to understand that I'm a scientist. I'm a passionate advocate of health freedom, but I am a scientist to my core. And I will tell you, as a scientist, that the entire area of vaccines is nothing but a medical fraud. There's so much money involved in vaccinations and vaccines that fraud has been propagandized magnificently. But the fact is that a placebo-controlled, double-blind trial of vaccinated versus unvaccinated persons, children or adults, has never been conducted. There is not the tiniest shred of evidence that the antibodies produced after a vaccination are protective. In fact, there is an epidemiologist whose article this is a PhD epidemiologist from the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Moroney, if I remember correctly, who says that you can predict epidemics and pandemics by simply identifying vaccine campaigns.
It's frightening. Absolutely frightening. I have a question about pasteurization, not to get off the vaccine subject. There's so much. I mean, we could do another hour on vaccines, and if there's anything else you want to say about that, please do. But then I just want to ask you about pasteurization, because this is another thing that's disturbing to our food supply. Milk is pasteurized. Almonds are pasteurized. People are forced to pasteurize these foods. Can you explain what it is to the public, what it does to the food?
I'd be very happy to. First, let's start with the thing that usually goes along with pasteurization if it's a liquid, and that is homogenization of milk. Homogenization is designed to save you the labor, the effort, the work of shaking up a bottle of milk. Now, that homogenization breaks the fat up into tiny little globules, and the globules lodge in your body, and they poison your body. The globules are found in the center of the plaques in coronary disease. The globules are found in damaged areas of your liver. Homogenized milk is a health hazard of enormous magnitude. Forget the fact that milk that has recombinant bovine growth hormone, that has antibiotics, that has other drugs in it, is an enormous health hazard. Part of the reason that milk is pasteurized is to prevent you from being sickened by the pus or by the bacteria that have led to the pus in the milk, because sick cows raised under factory farm conditions have infections, chronic infections, and also to prevent you from being sickened by the other infective material in the milk, specifically, I'm sorry to say, from the diarrhea that factory farm cows have on a regular basis. Ick, ick, ick. So they heat milk for a few seconds to about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's supposed to kill the pathogens. there are a couple of problems. First of all, by doing that,